Hi guys, my name's Callum Dicks and you're joining me today at the lovely Tunnel Barn Farm. I've sat on peg 21 on Extension Lake. Over the last 2 or 3 weeks it's been a brilliant area. From this peg to my right all the way down to 27 at the weekend there was loads of 50-60 pound weights. And we've had a great start to the day. We started across in 3 foot of water. We fished with pellets and we've caught some decent skimmers, an odd F1, and then we changed to maggots and we had a real good run of big F1s and some smaller fish as well. But one of the lines here at Tunnel is probably the most important line to get right if you're going to win the match, is the short line. I've been priming it all day, throwing maggots, and I've just dropped on it. I've caught that F1 very quickly and hopefully we'll have a good run on this line to the end of the day. There has been a few small fish about today, but with the water temperature being 11 degrees and fishing maggots, you come to expect that. But hopefully if we keep feeding, keep fishing like we did across, we'll have a good run of decent F1s. And this area of the lake, they do tend to be really big. When you've primed this line up all day and you go in on it with 90 minutes an hour to go and you do catch F1s, they do tend to be really big fish. You'll probably be looking at an average of 2.5–3 pound a fish. I know one of the lads the weekend on peg 27 had 15 in the last 90 minutes short, and it took his day from being an average day to a late winning weight, which this line can do so easily. Like I said, we've been priming up here all day, throwing maggots. Sometimes I go in with a cup, but I felt like with the water being as warm as what it is, there you go, I think it's another small F1. With the water being as warm as it is, and I can feel like you can feed a fair bit of bait with the small fish about. Another nice stocky F1. I feel like going straight in and feeding by a hand is going to be the way today. One quick little note, the pole I'm using is the MVR XX. It's a brand new pole, just come out this week. They've just actually hit the shops this week, and I'm sure if you follow me on Facebook or any of the social medias, you've heard me banging on about it, but it is an unbelievable piece of kit. We've been fishing at like 15 meters today and the conditions are perfect for it, but it really is an unbelievable bit of kit. It's a joy to use. So stiff but light, but so strong. You can throw it about and you know it's just going to have it's going to be reliable. And we've been tapping in maggots, and it's such a joy to use, especially if you use it with a short fore and a short top kit. It's unbelievably stiff and it really does catch you a lot more fish. There's a lot of pieces of equipment that you can buy and you can use, and they look nice and they feel nice, but realistically, are they going to catch you a lot more fish? For me, your pole is one piece of kit that really is going to catch you a lot more fish. And I've certainly caught a lot more fish since using it. Nice little another F1. But you can see straight away how quickly you can catch on this line. If you go in, you feed your bait, you can get bites. You can just catch so quickly, and it really can be the decider whether you frame, win the match, or just have an average day. I'm fishing a short top kit, a short fore and 2 more sections. Now this is a distance where I really feel like I can feed maggots by hand accurately, and that's the most important thing about this line. I've got some decent maggots, big maggots, so you can feed them nice and accurately. And if you get the conditions like it is today where the wind's not too bad, this distance really is perfect. If you come a bit shorter, don't feel like the fish are going to settle, and if you fish any further, there's a good chance you won't be able to feed by hand accurately, which is really important. One thing you might be able to see me doing on camera is when I actually put my rig in the water, I flick the bulk past the pole tip and let everything settle past the pole tip. There we go. So I'll flick it out past and let it all settle past my pole tip. I actually put my back shot about 2 inches underneath the pole tip which is quite unusual because most people, when they use back shots, they put them quite close to the float. But I don't actually do it on this line because I want the float to sit past the pole tip. For some reason, I've found when you fish at tunnel for these wary F1s, if you fish a tiny little bit more over depth and put the float past your pole tip, it really does work well, especially for those bigger fish. So again, we're going to flick the bulk past, let it sink. We're going to feed twice. That wind's got up, so it's a little bit difficult. We're going to feed as accurate as possible. Just let that float sit past the pole tip, and you're going to be ready for a bite. If you can, there you go, straight away. It's just a small fish, I think that. But it's so, when you're fishing at this distance and you're feeding by hand, it's so easy to catch really quickly. Double maggot on the hook. It always seems to be the best bait. I have caught a few fish on single maggot in the past here, but in general, when you're fishing for these big F1s, double maggot seems to be the way. Size 18 ES43 hook, 010 hook length, pretty standard stuff. But when you get them in your peg and you get them competing, like I said before, this line really is a line where you can build a weight quickly. Fishing with a short top kit and a 6 to 9 jaw core hollow elastic, it really does keep you in control of the fish when you hook them. When you come to net them, the fish are right by your keep net. There we go, that's the sort of stamp fish we're looking for. Oh, just come off that one. It might have just been outside the mouth, that. But that's not a bad sign at all. When you get them coming in your peg like that and you're getting bites as fast as that, you know there's quite a few fish in the peg. And if you can catch like this for the last hour, 90 minutes and keep them coming, that's when you know you're going to catch a big weight. Float I'm using is a Maver MVR Finesse 6 in 1/2 gram, which is quite a heavy float. But when you're fishing in 6 foot of water and there is a few other small fish about, roach, perch and stuff like that, it's important that you use a decent sized float. For some reason, another F1, another decent stocky F1. For some reason, when I fish short here at tunnel, feeding twice always seems good. I've tried feeding once with a bigger handful, but it just doesn't seem right. It's almost like the first lot of maggots you throw in seems to bring the fish in the area, and then the second handful you throw takes them down. I'm not sure, but it just seems right. So what I do, I go out, I bait up, double maggot, flick my bulk past, let it all settle whilst the rig's sinking, throw your bait just on and just short if possible. Not quite like that, it was a little bit too far, but it's fine, we can stretch out a bit, and let it all settle. So there's a bite straight away. That's why it's so important to use decent sized floats. If you're using a lighter float, then you'd still be waiting for the float to settle by the time I had a bite with this decent rig. Oh, number one on the drop. Like I said before, the water temperature is 11 degrees, and when you're throwing maggots the way I am, you can expect the fish to come up, and you might get the odd bite on the drop from decent fish. There we go again. A slightly smaller F1 again, I would have thought. Oh no. But you can see why you need 3 or 4 pints of maggots when you come to Tunnel Barn, because once you start feeding them long with a kinder pot and you feed them out your hand, and you might want to feed some short as well in the edge, you really can go through your bait. So I'm going to repeat the process, flick my rig in, I'm going to feed twice. That was perfect, just a touch short of my float, and we get some bites straight away. That's just a small fish there. But what I'll be thinking in the match is, now if I've gone in, I've caught some F1s like I have, I've caught 4 or 5 F1s really quickly, and then I'm starting to catch an odd perch, I would really start to think about upping the feed. So we'll just feed a little bit more this time, just short of the float is perfect. 2 decent handfuls. Oh, another small fish. But that's quite usual for tunnel and for F1 fishing this time of year. You can't expect to go in on a line, have a real decent run, and then just keep catching unless you're on an absolute pile of fish. But in general, what happens, you go in on a fresh primed line, you'll catch for a certain amount of time and then you have to change and move. That's perfectly normal with F1 fishing. Right, so I'll just try and catch you one more F1 before we come to the end of our day. Like I said, we've gone in on this line, we've had a good run, starting to catch a few small fish now. So I am going to start really up the feed, maybe drop my rig in a little bit more vertical. Just try and give myself a better chance of getting the hook bait to the bottom. Alright, there we go. Another bite. That fish was actually just off the bottom. Like I thought they might just come up. But a bit more bait really has helped. 2 big handfuls every time has brought these decent fish back into my peg. And as you can see, you can catch so quickly on this line. And fish, the normal fish that you catch, are really big. So it really is a match winning method. Get this right, this line that you've primed up during the match. Have a good end into the match. Have a good start across and in your edges in certain depths. And you have a great day and catch loads of fish and hopefully wins loads of matches. Right guys, I'm just going to talk you through the rig that I've used fishing across today in 3 foot of water. I'll start from the very bottom. To start with, we've got a size 18 ES43 hook, which has got a really wide gape on the hook, which is really important when you're fishing with maggots, because the last thing you want is the maggot going back over the point of the hook, causing you to lose lots of fish. The hook length itself is 010 MVR hook length mono and is 5 inches long. At the top of my hook length, I've got my first dropper, which is a size 10, leading up to the bulk of my rig, which is another 7 inches above the first dropper. I've always fished with a bulk and 1 dropper here at Tunnel. I've messed about loads in the past with stringing it out and fishing with bulks further away, but I've just come up with this shotting pattern and it really does work for me. The more time I can spend fishing on the bottom trying to nick out the odd big fish, for me, always catches me the biggest weights. So very simple, 1 dropper, 1 bulk with a few trimmers just at the top of the bulk. The main line itself is 016, just quite a bit stronger on my hook length. If I ever get into any trouble with snags or fish in the net, you know your hook length's going to break first. The float I'm using is a Maver MVR Finesse Series 6 in 0.2, which takes 7 number 10 shot. Now I find that perfect for fishing in 3, 2.5 or 3.5 foot of water. Nice bristle on it, 1.2 mil hollow, so you can see it when the light isn't quite right. Just above the float itself, I've got a number 8 back shot. When you're fishing with 20 inches of line between your float and your elastic, it's important to use a back shot just to keep everything a little bit tighter and you don't get a bow in the line between your float and your elastic. The elastic itself is a 6 to 9 dual core with just a small bead on. I don't use Dacrons. I just use a bead out of the MVR swivel stop beads, and that sits lovely in the end of the pole. And what actually happens when you strike, you can actually feel the bead just catching a little bit, and that helps you hook the fish just a little bit better. The top kit itself is the short power kits that come in with the MVR XX power kit package. With a shorter amount of elastic in your pole, I feel like you're just keeping control of the fish a lot better. You don't want the fish swimming off, ruining your other lines, and when you come to net them, they pop up nearer your keep nets. You can net them and be really fast and efficient. But all round, a really balanced setup, 0.2 float, nice elastic, short top kit, nice float to use. The bulk and 1 dropper is really important, so you're nice and efficient when you're fishing. 5-inch hook length, ES43, size 18 hook, really balanced. Using rigs like this really does catch you a lot more fish.